So I'm going to talk about Tennessee energy efficiency and renewable energy resources that can be used in conjunction with the REAP program. So let me do this. And here's the outline of my presentation. I'll talk about the Tennessee energy, energy consumption and expenditures, the economy, energy rankings that we've received, wind and solar potential, energy use in agriculture, and then current and alternative energy uses and some funding opportunities from the state of Tennessee. So here's a map of the state with all the energy sources. We got 28 hydroelectric power plants, 9 natural gas plants, solar power plants, coal-fired, nuclear, wind, pump storage, and then a biomass plant. So that's showing all the resources that we have out there. So in terms of energy consumption between 1960 and 2018, this is a map showing the trends. Between those years, as you can see, industrial sector was the major consumer, and then followed by transportation, residential and commercial sectors. But then if you look between those years, transportation and residential sector almost tripled in terms of energy consumption, and commercial sector grew more than 6 times. But then industrial sector grew over the years, and then it went back down. So if you also notice the green line, which is the industrial sector, about 2008, right after the recession, it dipped, and then it went back up. And you can see now transportation sector is the major energy consumption sector as of now. So in terms of energy expenditures, we spend about $15 billion annually on energy. And per capita, energy consumed is about 333 million BTUs. Those are British thermal units. We spend on average per capita about $4,000. And then we also have the lowest electric energy, electric rates, 11 cents per kilowatt hour. I think we're in the top 10, I guess, in terms of lower rates. And also we're the largest ethanol producing state in the southeast part of the state, part of the country. So here's 2 charts talking about the Tennessee end use energy consumption, one by source and then the other by sector. As you can see, 50% of our consumption is mainly petroleum. It's diesel, gasoline, and other oils. And then 23% is electricity, 20% natural gas, 5% renewable, and then 2% is coal. So the total BTUs that we use is about 1,522 trillion BTUs. And if you break it down by sectors, again, like you saw before, transportation sector is a major consumption sector with about 43%, followed by industrial, 28%, residential is 16%, and commercial about 13%. Again, those 2 add up to 1,522 trillion BTUs. So in terms of the energy economy, it supports about $39.7 billion and contributes to the state gross domestic product, employs about 358,000 people, and includes about 18,170 businesses. It pays on an average a wage of $59,665. That's about $3,000 above our median household income. And also, there's opportunity to increase employment and rural capital investments in rural Tennessee. This report that was put out by the energy 2018, the Tennessee Advanced Energy Business Council's economic report also said that advanced energy can be used as a targeted industry cluster, so you can actually attract businesses into rural Tennessee. So here's a map that shows where our rankings are in terms of ACEEE, put us at 30. And also by energy consumptions, we're ranked 20th in the country, and then energy expenditures about 23rd ranking. So a couple of things here. Also, is our ranking has improved over the years. We've adopted 2018 international residential codes and also international energy conservation codes for residential construction, but we still have plenty of opportunities to expand those efforts, mainly through policies that encourage efficient use of transportation fuels, adoption and enforcement of stronger building energy codes and upland standards. So if we do that, our ranking will probably improve over the years. So here's a map of the wind energy potential. This is put out by NREL, National Renewable Energy Laboratory, and this is about 80 meters wind speed on average. And you can see we have a lot of wind energy potential somewhere in all these greens are in the eastern Tennessee by the Smoky Mountains. You can see all the ridges where you have a lot of wind potential, where we can probably install some wind energy facilities. So that's something that we encourage you to look at. And then the next map is solar potential. I don't have a Tennessee map. This is again put by National Renewable Energy Laboratories, and you can see along Tennessee River Valley, and also southern Middle Tennessee, Southwest Tennessee, and Northwest Tennessee are the places where we have good solar potential. So those are the places that you can actually use for solar energy. So here's a chart that talks about energy use in agriculture. Mainly, we use energy mainly for tractors, irrigation systems, indoor-outdoor lighting, in the shop and in the livestock building, mainly for grain drying and livestock water systems. Some of this was already covered by Chuck and Dr. Hughes. So here's a flow chart that actually talks about the inputs and the outputs and the relationship between energy and agriculture. Ag is mainly a direct use of agriculture, direct use of energy in terms of gasoline, diesel, electricity, natural gas. But also, if you look at fertilizer and subsidies, those are energy intensive inputs as well. So biofuels and renewable energy can play a major role if we actually look at them for sustainable agriculture. But and on-farm renewable energy is a step in the right direction. So if you can see solar, wind, geothermal, anaerobic methane digesters that have already been talked about, those are potential opportunities for us to get into these things. And then you also hear from two of our experts who've actually adopted these technologies right after me and Tom. And we'll hear from their lessons learned. And also, if you see renewable fuel standards, that's a standard that's put out on a clean power plant. There's several areas where that can play into the sustainability plan. So that's something that to keep in mind moving forward. So here's the list of current and alternative energy sources. So electricity can be replaced with the wind turbines, solar panels with the photovoltaic panels, a hydro system, or anaerobic digesters. Hot water that's currently being supplied with electric gas or propane can be replaced with solar thermal systems or geothermal systems. Heated air that's currently being sourced with electric gas, wood, or propane, you can replace them with solar air collectors, transpired solar collectors, geothermal, biomass, or passive solar design. And transportation fuels, we can actually use biofuels or renewable electricity, electric hybrid vehicles, so on and so forth. Here's the funding sources that State of Tennessee has put out. This is Tennessee Clean Diesel Fuels Fund. This is mainly from the Volkswagen settlement. So what they prioritize here is school buses and new alternative fuel vehicles. And you could actually replace your medium to large size trucks, which are in the engine model range between 92 and 2009. And also you could replace shuttle and transit buses. So last year, there was 305,000 that was available through this program. And funding requests are mainly to supplement like 25% of the vehicles to meet the current NOx standard, that's nitrogen oxide standard, 35% of the vehicles that meet the low NOx standard, and 45% that don't have a tailpipe. It's also to repower an older diesel vehicle or convert an older diesel vehicle to run on alternative fuels. The second program we'll talk about is the Pathway Lending Program. This is an energy efficiency loan program. It's a private nonprofit lender that supports that's supported by both private and public funding. You could actually seek a loan between $20,000 and $5 million. So the interest rate is 2% if you avail it for 5 years. But if it's a longer term of say 10 years, then they would charge 5% interest rate. Also, they have a closing fee of about 1% of the program fee, about $350 for documentation and a few other fees. So in order to be eligible, you had to be either industrial, commercial, or private nonprofit business or local government facility, or any project that reduces utility consumption across electric, gas, and or water. So some of the common projects that are being talked about is HVAC replacements, air compressors, school roofs, solar, and lighting. And in terms of agricultural systems, you could use them for circulation fans, enclosed houses, insulated tunnel doors, radiant heat systems, any inlet systems, and LED lightings. So this is another funding source that's mainly it's building resilient communities fund. It is mainly to support communities that are thinking about capacity building. Mitigation projects are mainly focused to increase resiliency and public safety. Large infrastructure projects could be supported and also to support critical services and facilities. And they could actually also cover management costs, including administrative costs, specifically that's associated with the mitigation project. FEMA allocate, this is the, last year was the first time the BRIC funding was available. About $500 million were available, and then each state was allocated about $33.6 million. And the state of Tennessee also set aside about $600,000 towards this fund. Let's see. The last funding source I'm going to talk about is the energy efficiency grant and loan. This is mainly targeting schools. It's a low interest loan to fund energy efficiency projects in Tennessee's public K-12 schools. The eligibility requirements include you have to be a public K-12 school or a special school district. And also they provide technical assistance to public K-12 schools, special school districts, achievement school districts, and charter schools. The eligible projects include lighting upgrades, pumps and motors, building insulation or energy management systems. It could also be used to upgrade water, wastewater treatments, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, or load shifting projects. The interest rates are fixed up to loans up to $3 million. They charge about 1.5% for the term of the loan, and for loans greater than $3 million, 1.5% for the term of the loan, and then 2% for any remaining funds requested. And the maximum term for this loan is 16 years, and loans must be repaid mainly through energy cost savings. And here's the list of energy efficiency funding that's available. Besides the one I've talked about, there's a few that are already listed, like solar easements, building energy codes, and a few green energy tax credits, and a few others. So all these are available, and you can look up, you can click on these and then look at the eligibility requirements. And here's a list of references that covers all the funding sources and the energy information that I've put out together. If you're specifically interested in any of these loan programs or something, please click on these, and then you can access those. So with that, my presentation is completed. If there are any questions, I can answer. Electric trucks, I think those are considered alternative fuels, I guess. So I think those should be eligible to answer your question, Laura. Does it answer your question? And Chuck was saying that vehicles are not eligible for REAP programs. Yes, and I think these are specifically for the state programs. So that program is the Volkswagen mitigation clean diesel fuel fund, and I have the list as references here. Are there any other questions? Pathway lending program was sleep. I can speak towards pathways, and then Chuck, can you cover the REAP loan program? Let me go back to that slide, and then we can talk about that.
I can cover both if you want me to. I mean, the Pathway program is a direct loan from Pathway Lending, who is I guess the best way to describe them would be a nonprofit lender, much like a bank. Just work in it. They're just not monitored in the same fashion as a bank. As far as the REAP program, the REAP guaranteed loan is just that. It's a guaranteed loan in which we actually provide a loan note guarantee to a bank against loss. So you would actually go to your commercial lender who would actually make you the loan, and we provide a guarantee of up to 80% against loss in the event that your project fails and they have to foreclose.
Other questions or comments? If not, I'll hand off to Tom. Tom, you're up next.
Well, thank you, Sreedhar. This is Tom Irwin with TVA, and I'm going to be sharing a few things little information on the TVA programs that are available. Let me get this up for you. Hopefully you can see my screen. Excellent. So let me talk about just some of the different ways that TVA can support efforts. First of all, just a very quick commercial. Hopefully everybody knows that TVA is the largest public power provider in the nation. We sell all our power through our local power companies, the KUBs and the LCUBs. But our threefold mission is obviously to deliver safe, reliable, competitively priced electricity, to be environmentally friendly, and to promote economic development. We take this very seriously, our low industrial rates. We feel like that's a very attractive to businesses, so we try to keep our rates low, but we also want to be environmentally sensitive. So this is why we do support the BRIC program and all the stuff that we've talked about today. If your company has a goal to reduce their carbon footprint, I have some good news for you. Since 2005, if you've done nothing else, your carbon footprint has been reduced by 60% because TVA's carbon footprint is 60% lower since 2020. We plan to reduce it another 10% or to give you a 70% reduction by 2030. And then the plan is to reduce our carbon by 80% by 2040. So reducing carbon and the whole global warming is something we're very sensitive to and hopefully helping our end use customers with. If you want to go further, as we've talked about multiple times, you don't have to initially just put solar panels on the roof. I would suggest the first thing we do is we look at how you're using power. As we've talked about already, what can we do to be more efficient? And as we've said already several times, lighting upgrades are one of the most common ways to reduce your energy consumption with LED lighting. A lot of folks have done that. And again, well, actually, I don't know if anybody's mentioned compressed air optimization. A lot of the large industries have large air compressors and put control systems on those compressors. You can save a lot of energy if you optimize your compressed air and just fix leaks, for example. Energy management systems are a great way to lower your energy use during unoccupied times. Even programmable thermostats, to me, are a nice, simple way to manage energy. HVAC upgrades, we've mentioned that, heating, cooling. If you upgrade your HVAC, you can save energy. Even though the BRIC program doesn't promote forklifts, electric forklifts are a great way to reduce your carbon footprint, to improve your indoor air quality, lower your operating costs, lower your maintenance costs compared to propane and diesel. The new electric forklifts have a better battery technology. They have fast charging. So even 3-shift operations are successfully utilizing electric forklifts. If you want to Google the EPRI forklift calculator, go to Google and type in EPRI forklift calculator, and you can calculate the savings of an electric forklift over propane or diesel. The electrics are a little more expensive on the front end. They typically have a payback. Depending on your hours of operation, they can pay for themselves in 3 years or less. And then heat recovery opportunities. If you're simultaneously heating and cooling in your facility, if you've got water going to towers at the same time, you might be heating water in a boiler or any other type of heat recovery opportunities. Those are things that you could look at to save energy and reduce your carbon footprint. Now let's take a closer look at some of the renewable options that TVA offers and ways, again, to incorporate green technologies. Dispersed power production is a way for you to sell any excess energy you have through your local power company to TVA. These are typically require a 5-year purchase power agreement. The pricing is typically based on TVA's avoided costs. So the payments for these excess power are not substantial. So we typically see folks sizing their solar facilities to offset their own usage and not as often really to pay back to TVA. The Green Invest program has been getting a lot of attention lately. This is a new to the world, what we call utility scale renewables projects. Typically, the end use customers will work through their local power company and TVA to acquire these large facilities. A couple of names you may be familiar with. Facebook has initiated a Green Invest project of 447 megawatts. Google, we've worked with Google to get 316 megawatts of new renewables. The Saturn plant, the GM plant in Spring Hill, worked with the local power company and TVA to put in 100 megawatts of renewables. And Vanderbilt University just in Nashville, Tennessee, has pulled the trigger on a 35 megawatt Green Invest project. The Green Flex program is another option. Let's say you don't necessarily have room to put solar on your property, or you don't want to necessarily invest in a large solar project, but you want to support renewables. Well, you can buy, instead of putting in your own system, you can buy renewable energy credits, or RECs, through the Southeastern RECs program, $1.50 per megawatt hour. That program is supported by wind projects in the Midwest in Iowa, Illinois, and Kansas. You have to buy a minimum of 2,000 RECs per year to participate in the Green REC program, but those are pretty competitively priced RECs and can substantially lower your carbon footprint. So I went over that pretty quickly. If you haven't sat down with your local power company in a while, or haven't talked to TVA, I'd encourage you to do that. This is my email address and my phone number. If you don't know who to call, you can call me and I'll get you in touch with whomever at your local power company. As was mentioned, TVA can help with energy audits, but that has to be, I would encourage you to first reach out to your local power company to see if they would work with us to come in and do that for you. That the cost of that energy audit is typically paid through the local power company. So I will stop there and see what questions you might have. If we have no questions, I believe we are going to
have one question. Are there any current projects of this type with wind energy in West Tennessee?
We're going to hear about a couple of projects here in East Tennessee in just a minute. Ted Wampler and Rick Riddle are following me, and they're going to talk about a couple of their projects. So
how about,
we,
Tom, how about West Tennessee?
Actually, I believe some of our Green Invest projects are actually going to be, even some of the projects here in East Tennessee are going to be supported with some large solar in the western part of the state. I don't know all the details of that, but yeah, there is more open space and some flatter spaces in West Tennessee. I believe I didn't mention KUB, Knoxville Utilities Board, pulled the trigger on a 212 megawatt Green Invest project. KUB is going to be supporting the city of Knoxville's efforts to be more renewable and also to sell renewable power to their customers. And I believe that Green Invest project is going to be located in West Tennessee. What other questions do you have?
I think they were asking why there were no projects in West Tennessee, I guess, and you kind of answered it. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, again, I appreciate you. Thanks for this time. And if you haven't reached out and had a conversation with your local power company or want to know who that person is, or if you want to just talk to me about anything efficiency or renewables related, just let me know. And with that, I will pass. We are now going to talk to Ted Wampler and Rick Riddle are going to come up next to talk about a couple of the projects that they've been involved in.
Hey, Tom, before you jump out, I think there's one other question. Who handles that in West Tennessee? Do you know?
Who handles Green Invest?
I think wind energy, I believe, is what they were trying to refer.
Oh, in West Tennessee, I got you. Well, again, I would start with your local power company. Call your local power company. Alton Green is my counterpart in West Tennessee, and but I would start that question. Obviously, there's a number of different local power companies in West Tennessee. So depending on who your local provider is, that's who I would contact. But
can you share his contact information, Tom, if you can find that while Ted and Rick are talking? And can you put that in the chat box?